Every single day in India, millions of people access world-class entertainment and highly produced information for almost nothing. Take the daily newspaper. Factoring in high-grade newsprint, industrial printing, and logistics, a single issue costs roughly 10 to 12 rupees to produce, yet readers buy it for just 4 or 5 rupees. The same math applies to broadcast media. Global sports tournaments, like an Indian Premier League match, cost billions to stage and broadcast, but networks deliver them to viewers on free-to-air channels. The natural assumption is that someone has to pay for this. If corporations are dropping billions on sponsorships and massive ad campaigns, consumers usually assume those costs are passed directly to them at the checkout counter, driving up retail prices. But the math points the other way. Corporate marketing spending isn't a simple price markup. It acts as an invisible structural subsidy, one that keeps media networks alive and actively pushes the final price of everyday consumer goods down. To see how this works, we must look at the manufacturing lines for fast-moving consumer goods, the everyday packaged items lining supermarket shelves, where cost optimization dictates who survives. This diagram maps the core equation determining product pricing. A company's average total cost is determined by adding its fixed costs, like factory leases and heavy machinery, to its variable costs, like direct labor and raw materials. When a company runs an effective advertising campaign, they generate a massive spike in market demand. In response, their total production volume, or Q, explodes to meet that demand. Because those expensive fixed costs for the factory remain entirely rigid, distributing them across a dramatically higher volume of products means the cost to manufacture each individual unit plummets. Achieving these powerful economies of scale allows consumer brands to drop the final retail price for shoppers at the store. The advertising investment effectively pays for itself by reducing the per-unit manufacturing cost, allowing companies to lower prices without sacrificing profit margins. Scaling this up to the national level, economists track total advertising expenditure, often called ADEX. They use this metric as a primary leading indicator. When aggregate brand spending contracts or rebounds, it directly signals the broader state of consumer sentiment. This chart compares the ADEX to GDP ratio across different economies. Developed consumer markets like the US or Western Europe maintain a consistent baseline between 1 and 1.5%. India's metric historically hovered around 0.3 to 0.5%, but it is now sharply accelerating towards those global benchmarks. During that historical 0.3% era, entry costs for mass media like national television networks or widespread print campaigns were incredibly high. Only large incumbent conglomerates could afford to play, creating near-monopoly environments in many commercial sectors. Targeted digital advertising broke those entry barriers. Tools like pay-per-click platforms and localized mobile networks allow businesses to reach precise audiences without millions in upfront capital. Now, micro-enterprises and regional direct-to-consumer brands can launch high-yield campaigns with flexible daily budgets. A tiny startup can effectively challenge a massive national brand for the exact same customer. This upward trajectory in India's advertising ratio is the active democratization of market access. It lowers entry barriers to let smaller Indian businesses compete. Aggregate commercial capital flows directly into the real physical world, subsidizing public infrastructure in ways that private consumers rarely see. Look at out-of-home advertising in Tier 4 towns. A brand sponsorship painted on a village wall provides a direct financial subsidy to the property owner for its maintenance, while expanding commercial connectivity to isolated rural populations. State and federal governments rely on this exact same marketing architecture to execute massive public health initiatives, like the Pulse Polio national immunization drives. These frameworks extend deep into behavioral and social welfare programs, running statewide ad campaigns focused on gender equity and rural education. Without a highly developed, commercially funded advertising industry already in place, the government would be forced to bear the entire prohibitive financial cost of building these rural communication channels from scratch. Because aggregate ad spending functions as a load-bearing pillar for national demand, the system requires strict oversight. Deceptive marketing practices damage widespread consumer welfare by distorting market competition and eroding trust. The first line of defense is a self-regulatory layer managed by the Advertising Standards Council of India. They enforce core operating principles across all media, ensuring basic truthfulness, public safety, and fair competition. But self-regulation requires statutory teeth. In 2019, the Central Consumer Protection Authority was established, giving the government the legal power to issue severe financial penalties against advertisers making misleading claims. This legal liability directly targets celebrity endorsers as well. If a public figure fails to perform the required due diligence on a product they promote, they face personal financial fines and temporary bans from commercial endorsements. So, the next time you hit skip on a digital ad or pick up a heavily subsidized morning newspaper, look past the commercial interruption. You are watching a transaction within a massive macroeconomic engine, one that keeps consumer goods cheap, sustains independent journalism, and fuels the structural growth of the entire Indian economy.